Welcome back to another torch review. I have the Zanflare F2 in for testing. This was sent in via Gearbest, so we're going to run through all of the details of the product and give you an idea of my thoughts at the end. This one is the warm white version. There is a cool one available too. I'll open up the box, nicely packaged with this. You've got that dense foam surrounding the torch and accessories to protect it. You get an included hand strap with this. Quality is okay, it's not an expensive torch. 2 spare O-rings are supplied. And we have the clip, quite like that. A lot of these AA torches don't have clips, at least some of the ones I've tried, so you can snap that into place. Quite a firm fit on that. We can just leave it off if you don't want it. Now looking at the body, just like the F1, there's a lot of knurling on the F2 and it's quite a thin, dense knurling too, and I quite like it myself. It gives a lot of grip. You'll also see the base cap has knurling on it too, so it's a nice fit in the hand. It's very secure. Open up the tail cap, you can see a good quality spring, and I just put 2 AA batteries into this. You can use the alkalines, but I definitely go for the rechargeables. You have some grooves for the strap there. Unscrew it again. It's already pre-greased up, and it's actually quite thick aluminium on this. Good density on that, so it's not a torch which is going to dent easily. You'll notice the anti-roll design on the head. I quite like that touch. And a look at the switch. Nice positive click action on this. Look at the reflector. This is unusual. It's quite deep and it has quite a lot of texturing on it too. You usually get a shallow reflector with the dimpled effect, but we'll have a look at the beam pattern later on. Now, one thing I do like with this torch is the 3-level battery status LED. When you turn it on, if you're above 30%, it goes blue. You've got the red flashing to indicate when it's very low, and I like that myself. Simple operation with this, single click on and off, and then half click to go through the modes. Now the 3 power levels do have the strobe mode included in that as well. That's something that I might have changed myself, maybe a double push to go to the strobe. Nice fit and feel with this though. I'm quite impressed with the build. Previous Zanflare torch I also quite liked, even though it may not have been the nicest looking torch. It was very practical, and the anti-roll in action. One thing I did note is that the button sticks out a bit. It means that you can't base or tail stand the torch, which is a bit of a disappointment, even though it's a bit long. Possibly, I do use that sometimes. And open up the user manual, have a look through this. Quite clearly laid out. There is a typo in terms of the specifications on the runtime for high, and I've done a test with 2 any loop batteries later on. We'll go through that. Nothing wrong with the manual, pretty clear and easy to follow. And you also get a 2 years warranty with the Zanflare. What we'll do is some beam shots now so you can have a look. Bear in mind this is the warm white version. Quick waterproof test, didn't have any problems at all after half an hour. Now with my normal test of around about 90 to 100 foot, starting off at the low mode, go up to the medium. That's around about 50 lumens, and I'll take it up to the top power setting, and you'll see quite a jump, but for the 3 power levels it makes sense. Notice you've got a fairly concentrated spot with this torch, and that's due to the deep reflector. So I'm going to try it against the Rofis TR15, which recently came in. This has a very shallow orange peel effect reflector, which is more typical of the AA torches that I've tended to use. We'll move that up through the power levels and you'll see it gives it a more spread out pattern. I'd say that the actual power is pretty similar between these 2 torches. Look at the beam pattern here, you can see a more concentrated spot in the middle. It's better diffused in person than the camera picks up. And the lowest level is around about 15 lumens. I would have liked perhaps a moonlight mode to have been included. Normal wide angle test. Just about see at the lowest mode, and the medium level up to around about 50, and then we'll jump up to the top power level of 200. It really fills out quite nicely, certainly in the edges, but you'll see that there is that circular definition that you don't always get with some of the AA torches, particularly the Olight ones. Just to have a look at the beam pattern here. Those torches, the Olights, have a optic on the front of the lens, and that really spreads it out. So this has a bit more range, and it's doing quite well with the telephoto test that I'm doing here. The tree, and then there's a bush in the corner. All of these tests are exactly the same location, so you can compare the beam shots. So by having a more concentrated beam pattern in the middle, you've got a torch which has a bit more range. Which you prefer will of course depend on your own personal taste. It's nice to have a bit of choice. Not everyone wants a very wide diffused beam. I'm just doing the test down the side of the house so you can see the beam pattern here. Again, all of these tests are in the same location, so you can go through the torch reviews that I've done and see how the patterns compare, because they're all quite different in subtle ways. Onto the strobe, quite a fast flashing strobe with this torch. And we're doing a test on the medium setting. This will last the whole night with fresh batteries, no problem, and it's a setting that I'd use quite a bit for general purpose. You don't necessarily need that extra power. If I drop it down to the 15 lumen mode, I would have liked to have had a lower mode. It's not uncomfortable using it at that level, but as it's a more concentrated beam pattern, you'll see that there is a bit of a hot spot there. Now onto the longer range test. I'm just over the wall here. There's a grass area and the cars, and it's lighting them up quite well, so that's a much better result than most of the two AA torches that I've used because of the concentrated beam. Now I ran a test with 2 Any-loop cells freshly charged and let them run at the highest power level, and just before the 2-hour mark it dropped down. You can kick it back up again, but the battery warning light came on and it got over 2 hours and 12 minutes, and it kind of died eventually at about the 2.5 hours. So decent run times with good quality cells. You can also get higher capacity cells than the Any-loops, so you'll easily be able to get over 2 hours at the highest level. Couple of thoughts with the F2. Quite a nice job overall they've done with this torch. I like the styling, very practical, lots of grip. There's a good action on the switch. Couple of areas that I might have changed though. I would have liked to have had that moonlight mode included. I also possibly would have taken out the strobe from the main power sequence. Maybe a double click for the strobe would have been useful. You'll have to go through it as it is. Not a major issue, but something I would change. And you can't base and tail stand it either. Just a couple of extra millimeters on the base section would have allowed that to happen. But overall, they're quite a nice little torch. That power level indicator is quite a neat feature to have. You have the mode memory, good run times, and for the overall package, it's actually a pretty good value torch. And you're getting something that is actually quite nice quality too. So thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to look at some of my other videos, and I will catch up with you very shortly in my next video review.